It's an honor to be talking to you right now, sir. My name is Sindhus, and I'm currently a student, and I study with lots of non-Muslims. And I'm faced many times with the question, if there's a God, why are there bad things in this world?
I love that question. I love that question. Do you know why I love that question? Because I used to have the same question. And anything and everything I looked at never answered that question until I came to Islam. That for me is one of the clearest proofs. If you really want to use your brain and think about what's going on around you and think about religion and a belief pattern or system, really you need to look at Islam. You really need to look at it, because it's the only one that gives you the answer. Because Islam never demands from you blind faith. Never. The only thing we are told in Islam, the only restriction, don't try to imagine what Allah is like. Don't imagine what Allah looks like. Don't get into that area, because you can't. You'll destroy your own brain. Other than that, ask. And on our website, watch out, here comes a commercial. On our website, islamnewsroom.com, we have that article featured more times maybe than almost anything else. If there's a God, why all of this chaos in the world? And that's our subject today, isn't it? All this chaos in the world. Tornadoes, earthquakes. We have an earthquake page on that same website. All about earthquakes. It updates every few minutes. You can see where the earthquakes are right now. And they have increased in intensity, just like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said they would. Tremendous number of earthquakes today. Several hundred earthquakes have happened since I've been giving you this speech right now. Go there and check it out. Along with that, pestilence, violence, wars, occupations. And I'm not talking about jobs. And family abuse. Serious problems. We even talked about a few of them, didn't we? Serious stuff. So if there's a God, why is all that stuff happening? It means the person asking the question doesn't even have the basic understanding of what Islam taught. Islam never taught us that this was the Jannah. What? You thought you were in paradise? Is that what you thought? Look what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said. He summed it up with one of the simplest, most beautiful little teachings you could ever imagine. When it comes to why do bad things happen to good people, that's how I titled the lecture about this originally years ago. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir." This material existence that we're in, called hayat dunya, life of this world, is a prison to a true believer. But it's the only paradise to a disbeliever. He narrowed it down to two things: believers and disbelievers. We know as believers that this is the hardest thing we're going to go through. Because when this is over, that's it. It's done. It's done. You're not going to be put in any more tests. But you start seeing the results of the tests. You know how that goes. But for the disbeliever, this is their paradise. And that's why they want so desperately to build the big things here. And the fancy cars, the beautiful homes, the best of clothes. You know what I'm saying? You know, strut your stuff, baby. Okay. This is what they're looking for. But our Prophet ﷺ, he told us, and this is another hadith, to clarify it even more. Because some of the companions were concerned about the same thing that you're concerned about with your question. He said two people will be brought on the day of judgment. One of them, he had everything he asked for in this life. Even to the extent when he was dying, he wanted a feast set before him, and he got it. The other person, he didn't get anything he asked for. Even to the extent when he was about to die, all he asked for was just a drink of water. And he didn't even get that. Now on the day of judgment, the one who had everything, he would be pushed into the hellfire. Like you put a needle in something and pull it out. Just in that instant. Whoop, whoop. And then, it's not in the hadith. That whoop, whoop is not there. Don't look for that. He would be asked, in your whole life, remember he had everything. In your whole life, did you ever see any good? He'd say, well, boy, in my whole life, I never saw anything good. It wiped it all out. The other man that had nothing, suffered in this life, would be put into paradise. Like you put a pin in something and pull it out. And then he would be asked, in your whole life, did you ever see anything bad? He would say, well, why? In my whole life, I never saw anything bad. No hardships. So the companions, still not quite satisfied with that one. They said, yeah, but, okay, so why this guy who had everything has to go to hell, and why the other guy goes to paradise? Oh. And Prophet ﷺ made it real clear. Nobody's perfect. Well, yeah, duh. I'm one of those not perfect guys. He said that nobody is perfectly good and nobody's perfectly bad. The man who had everything in this life, actually he was a very bad person. Allah hated him. So we don't have that concept, by the way. God is love and He loves everything and everybody, no matter how bad they are. No, 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 no. We know that God is the loving, al-wadud, and ready to love anything and everything that's good, but He's also capable of washadid al-iqab, dealing it out heavy duty, and you don't want to know about that. So this man who Allah hated, who had done so many monstrously bad things to people, yet he did some good deeds. So Allah paid him in this life for his good deeds. So he would not even smell the paradise. That he could be thrown directly right straight into hell. The other man, this gentleman, actually was very good. And Allah loved him. But he did some bad things. He made some mistakes. But because Allah doesn't want him to even smell the hellfire, not even for a nanosecond, so Allah let him have his punishment here in this dunya so that he could go straight into the paradise. Stop and think about it. Doesn't that make sense? Doesn't there really need to be a day of judgment? Because otherwise, how could any of us look at the things that are going on around us again and again and again and see how the tyrants and the aggressors and the oppressors throughout history again and again and again, not only do they win these battles and wars, but they go away with all the spoils of wars. Well, the really good people, the honest, kind, giving, generous, charity-giving people are suffering. Literally starving to death. But that's because this is a dunya. How many of you know what the word dunya really means? Raise your hand. You really know where it comes from? What's the source? Something really low. Really low in a base. Something so disgusting, right? Somebody'd go, oh man, got dunya on my shoe. Low. And that's what this universe is to Allah. How low? And again, we don't say, for Allah so loved the world. We don't have that. That's not our concept. Why do these people get these big this and big that? And you see people of the West doing so and so and so. Muslims out here just, for food, trying their best, right? But look at this. Prophet ﷺ said it to his companions so they'd understand. If the universe and everything in it, hayat ad-dunya wa ma fiha, everything in this universe was even worth a wing of a mosquito to Allah, then he would never give those bad people a sip of water to drink. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Now we understand this is not our paradise. This is our chance to earn paradise, work for paradise, and get the mercy of Allah so we can go to paradise. Well, this is not our paradise. So when you see the bad things happening to the people here, just remember, the ones who are suffering the most here have the best chance to go to paradise. And those who have everything here, they have the least chance. I won't say it's impossible, but it sure ruins your opportunities. So this is why Muslims are constantly encouraging each other to, whatever you do, do it with a good intention for the sake of others. Now, some people will say, oh, wow, look the way they spent their money. Last night we were down in Abu Dhabi. Have you seen the big masjid down there? That's an amazing place. And people could say, oh, wow, look, they wasted their money. How do you say that? Why would you say that? How many people go there? Even tourists go there and want to know about it. They learn about Islam. And it's a big place to worship. How many of you have been there? Were you impressed? Yes or no? You were impressed. It was something big. It's amazing. By the way, it must be pretty impressive. I didn't even say the name of it. You know which one I meant, didn't you? Huh? So see, when Muslims do something, at least they put a good intention with it. Something, hopefully, that Allah will accept. And we know we make mistakes along the way. But at least, inshallah, God can forgive us. Because we never made partners with Him in our worship. And what did Allah say about that? You didn't ask this question, but I'd like to throw it out there. What did Allah say about this in the Quran? Chapter 4, verse 48. This chapter called Women, An-Nisa. Here's what Allah said. He doesn't forgive people setting up partners with Him in worship, but anything else, He can forgive it. So the idea of making partners with Allah in worship, this is the worst thing in this test that we're in. Have you said, well, this is a good person. He's good to you. He's a nice guy, nice to you. But he's not being very nice to Allah. He's not being good to Allah if he made partners with Him in worship or denied Allah's ayahs, His proofs. So that's the way I would answer that question. I think if there was any good in that, it was from Allah. Any mistakes, of course, are from myself.
Thank you very much for that.